Pick a window. This is the Defenestrate Media Network.
The Left Show is not intended for youngsters. It's not intended for the sensitive. It's certainly not intended for right-wingers. Use your own discretion. Awful swearing.
You know who the best-looking person sitting up there was? Who was it with the cowboy hat?
No, J.M. Bell.
J.M. Bell. I don't know who that is.
He hosts a podcast.
Well, he was good-looking.
You are listening to the world's greatest political podcast. Welcome. It's The Left Show. Joining me this week, J.C. Carter.
Hi, folks.
Tiffany is out on assignment, and her assignment is to feel better.
That's right.
For those of you that listened to the most recent episode of I Told You So, you kind of know what we're going through right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a quick update. Last Saturday before last, in the morning, Tiffany started having seizures and did not stop until late Monday afternoon. We spent 3 days in the hospital that were terrifying, scary, heartbreaking, and they really haven't stopped since. The difference being that, you know, instead of 40 a day, like we were having last weekend, it's 6 or 7 a day. They're random. They come out of nowhere. They're a lot faster than what we've been dealing with her seizures over the last couple of years. And we're trying to find a specialist in Utah to help us out, and having kind of a hard time with that because there's only 3 of them, and I think one of them actually moved. So the other one we found that we fell in love with doesn't take insurance at all.
Oh.
What he does is you pay out of pocket, and then he gives you a form that you can submit to your insurance company, who may
Or may not.
won't, but may reimburse you for the costs.
Yeah.
I have talked to my insurance company, and they're like, no, we will not reimburse you for those costs. And this is the guy. He's the foremost expert in Utah. And I mean, it's prohibitively expensive, but we've got to figure something out. So I don't know. That's kind of what we're going through right now. And she's not feeling great. So she recorded, was it last week?
Yes.
Yeah, and then went on to have several seizures that night. So we're trying to take it easy and just kind of keep the stress load off her. But to this day, it's the Cross Your Heart bra folks that made spacesuits, and I did not know that until last week's show.
Yes.
That was a good one. I enjoyed that. For those of you that are paying attention, we have started dropping TikToks on the Left Show TikTok. So you can find us there. I'll do at least 2 per episode. One of the things that the fundraiser we were talking about will cover is this little piece of software that will help me edit out the clips. And the less time that takes, the more of them I will put up, so that you can get us in little bite-sized bits. Who doesn't love that?
We all love a bite-sized bit.
I do. Other than that, I don't know. Too much news this week. Too much news. Couldn't keep up with it. A lot of it got dumped into Patreon, so you'll have to join us over at patreon.com/dfenmedia and cover a lot of that. But I don't know. There's something extraordinary happening this week.
Yes.
It has not happened since I was a wee child.
Mm-hmm.
JC was a wee child.
That's right.
We're doing a drive-by of the moon.
First time since 1972, we're heading back to the moon.
I'm excited.
I am. I was a little cynical at first because I'm like, why are we doing this in such baby steps? We've done it before. Don't you have notes about how you did it the first time? But I guess it's all new equipment, all new people, that kind of thing. It's better to play it safe than sorry, and I can agree with that. So,
well, we needed a bigger rocket.
Yeah.
So we got the bigger rocket.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we got the new capsule.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've noticed or not, but there's some pretty cool looking shit in that capsule.
Yeah.
It still looks like it was put together as a high school science experiment inside until you look at the dashboard. And then the dashboard is all touchy screens and all of that. But no, I've always been excited by NASA and things that NASA does. Whether it's low orbit, whether it's high orbit, is it telescopes?
Mm-hmm.
I think the only smart thing Newt Gingrich ever said was that we needed to have a base on the moon before anybody else. I don't know why he said it, and the reasons that he said it are probably fucked up, and I don't care for them. But I agreed with him on that one. I was like, oh, it takes Newt Gingrich to tell me we need a base on the moon? Newt fucking Gingrich to tell me we need a base on the moon?
What did he say specifically? Before anyone else.
Yeah.
Why did we go to the moon the first time? Because the Russians had beat us into space, and we had to hit a milestone so we could prove, as Kennedy put it, that a free society could do this thing that as opposed to a tyrannical society. He said that in his speech that we all hear the end of it. We believe we can put a man on the moon and do the other things, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. That was the end of the speech. The beginning of the speech, he was talking about how this, we need to beat this tyrannical government, which he was definitely referring to the Soviet Union. Why are we going back to the moon? Because China and Russia have already got moon programs ready to go.
Yeah.
We had to get back there first.
Which is, look, if that's what it takes,
mm-hmm.
because we set foot on the moon more than 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And there should be a colony on that orb.
There was supposed to be.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be at least a moon base, a lunar base where you could build ships or, take care of rockets or whatever there so that you could have an easier launch pad to go to Mars, to go to the asteroid field, or to go out to Jupiter, which was all part of NASA's plans. The reason why the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey has them go to Jupiter is that was actually NASA's plan from the 60s.
Yeah.
That was just basically NASA's roadmap. They said, by 2001, we will be at Jupiter. That's simple. And without any traveling at light speed, which, of course, you see in Interstellar, we're just going to go to Jupiter. That was the whole thing. And we abandoned it after we looked in the rearview mirror and said, Russia isn't coming. I guess we're done.
Yeah,
and,
which is a goddamn shame.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the scientific advances that the space race gave us
mm-hmm.
in the 60s and 70s, even in the 50s. Everybody uses a microwave oven almost every day.
Yeah.
That came from NASA.
Mm-hmm.
That came from NASA. All sorts of cool shit did. So 4 astronauts are in the middle of a 685,000-mile historic journey to the moon, Alice. The Artemis 2 rocket launched. What was it? Was it last Wednesday evening?
Yeah, it was literally on April Fool's Day, which was kind of fun. So
that is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lunar flyby.
Mm-hmm.
And what's different about this flyby than the ones we did in the 60s is we're going to be much further away
Mm-hmm.
from the moon, so we'll get better pictures. We get a better idea of what we're looking at than they did before on the dark side of the moon. It's
When
really
we went to in the previous orbits, we were a lot closer in orbit to the orb, and we were landing. The first few missions landed on the dark side of the moon because they didn't know what the temperature would be like on the bright side of the moon. I saw an interesting thing that I hadn't even thought of. It takes a month. A moon day is 1 month on Earth because the moon rotates so slowly.
Yeah.
So, yes, it can get up to 400 degrees on the surface of the moon. The ground can get up to 400 degrees on the light side of the moon at mid moon day. So, when there's a full moon, when the moon is at full, or whenever mid moon day is, because it may be a full moon at a different time, that's pretty much when it's going to be 400 degrees. But the rest of the time, it's like, no, it's sitting around 70 degrees, that sort of thing, first thing in the morning, moon morning, which you can, the one mission, I think it was Apollo 16 that landed on the bright side of the moon. Apollo 15 or 16 landed on the bright side of the moon, and they were there for 3 days, and they got off and they left before the moon morning was over, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. The team consists of Victor Glover, Christina Hammock-Koch, Reed Wiseman. Those three are from NASA. And Jeremy Hansen from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
He's from the CSA. That making Christina Hammock-Koch the furthest woman away from Donald Trump, and therefore the safest.
The safest.
Reed Wiseman is the commander of the Artemis II mission, former NASA chief astronaut, U.S. Navy test pilot, and has already spent 165 days in space on the International Space Station.
Mm-hmm.
Victor Glover is the mission pilot, NASA astronaut, and U.S. Navy captain, first black astronaut to live on the International Space Station for a long duration assignment. I know. Spending 6 months on the Crew 1 mission. Glover is also the first person of color to go to the moon.
That's right.
Christina Koch, I don't know how to say her last name.
They say Cook at Mission Control.
Yeah, I'm going to say that then.
Yeah.
Christina Koch, mission specialist, holds the record for the longest single space flight by a woman at 328 days, a member of the Space Camp Hall of Fame. Cook attended the camp and the U.S. Space and Rocket Center multiple times in her youth. She also made history with fellow astronaut Jessica Murr in October 2019 when they performed the first all-female spacewalk. Do they have dollar shots at the All-Star? It's just what a phrase. All-female spacewalk. Dollar shots, $2 wings.
I see a little robot hand coming out inside your helmet with a with a shot. You just put your mouth down.
Yep.
Shoot it.
Yep. Cook was selected as an astronaut in 2013 and has completed 6 spacewalks. That's a lot of spacewalks. Jeremy Hansen, the other mission specialist, part of the Canadian Space Agency. As part of the Artemis II crew, he will become the first non-U.S. astronaut to fly to the moon. He's a colonel and a CF-18 fighter pilot and helped NASA with astronaut training and mission operations. Artemis II will mark Hansen's first mission in space. He's a handsome fella.
Mm-hmm.
Got that good-looking Canadian face. Got a
That's
Canadian.
Right. It's got that.
Go ahead.
That Letterkenny face, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Was it Shorzy?
Yeah.
The next phase in the series of missions is Artemis 3, expected to launch sometime next year. It will test rendezvous and docking capabilities between Orion and commercial spacecraft needed to land astronauts on the moon. The launch did not, or the day one did not go without hitches.
None of it has gone without hitches.
One of the things that I saw the morning of the launch was some interviews that some news crews had done with the astronauts in the mock-up.
Yeah.
And when you realize there's no up in space, basically, if it was standing on the launch pad,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got the chairs facing forward because that's where the pilot goes.
Yep.
Then the toilet was in the floor behind you.
Yep.
So you go back and you open the door and you get in and you shut the door and then you hang on to some rails and etc. And it was pretty cool, little cramped, a little claustrophobic, but cool looking. And that was the first thing that broke was the toilet. On day fucking one. And you just got to be like, I gotta pee.
It was there's a fan that extracts for them, and it wouldn't turn on, and mission control said, you're okay to defecate, because I guess whatever they used for poop was on a different motor. But they said, yeah, we don't want any urination until we figured this out. And then the fan started working.
How do you poop and not pee?
I know.
I can't.
I don't.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm old. 5 minutes after I poop, I have to pee again. That's just life. But
they have these vacuum bags they use on the ISS, that you basically pee. It's the yellow funnel, the famous yellow funnel from the ISS that you pee into, and then the can that you poop into. And it's like they'd have to have those as backup, because why wouldn't you? You would have to have something like that as backup. So, yeah.
Yep. The other thing that broke, and this delighted me to no end, Outlook.
Yeah.
Their ability.
Surprise! Outlook stopped working.
They can receive email. When they started it up, it fired up 2 instances, which apparently canceled each other out and caused issues and delays. So they had to call Houston. Houston, we have a problem. Houston probably peed itself a little bit, but that's okay because they had toilets that worked. And they're like, "What's up?" And they're like, "We can't figure out what's up with Outlook." So they went and got Dougie out of IT.
Said, "Have you tried just turning it off and turning it back on again?"
Yeah, it's probably wired to the toilet.
Exactly.
So anyway, they got that fixed, and that was pretty funny.
Yeah, they got the toilet fixed, the fan for the toilet fixed. I remember they were like, "You're free to go all night. You're good to use the toilet all night," which was funny. But now, anytime they use the toilet, when whoever's in it opens the door, they get a burning smell. So they're worried that one of the fans is overheating. But NASA's like, "We're still getting green lights, so you should be okay." But yeah, they smell this burning smell, and I'm like, maybe it's just what Wiseman had for lunch or something.
I mean, I don't want to exacerbate this.
Yeah.
And we're running up on the break, and I'm going to bump a couple of stories to the next block anyway, just because of timing issues and losing Tiffany and all that. But yeah, I think I'd rather smell the Bernie smell than I would rather smell the poop smell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd have more of an alarm because you're not supposed to smell it because of the vacuum, and so I would call more of an alarm if the toilet door opened and you suddenly smelled what they had for lunch, and it's like, that's bad.
They say that the International Space Station smells like fart.
Yeah,
because they have to take air up with them.
Yeah,
So what do you do? What do you do when you're just recycling air? I mean, you got to change the filters every once in a while, but yeah, apparently the International Space Station smells funky.
And hot air doesn't rise in space, so you won't smell it right away, but it definitely goes into the filter, so it gets put into the air circulation system when you fart. So
Yep. All right, let's do this. Since we're rearranging stuff, let's go ahead and take a break right now. We get back on the other side. We're going to do a quick deep dive. We're going to talk some war talk and a couple of other things. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Get hurt in the game? We tough it out. Feel exhausted? We push on. Feeling down? We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But there are times when bootstraps aren't enough. When stress gets to us and we need to talk to someone about what we're really going through. So we're going to reach out, because sometimes mental health is not a one-person job. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
What if there was one place where comic book fans could get everything? News, reviews, debates, and deep dives every single week.
And not just we read one issue and Googled the rest kind of takes. We're talking 15 years deep, over 600 episodes.
That's right. The world's greatest comic book podcast has been breaking down Marvel, DC, indie books, movies, and fandom culture long before it was cool.
Whether you're a lifelong collector,
A casual fan who just saw the latest superhero movie,
Or someone trying to figure out where to even start.
we have got you covered.
and we don't always agree, which makes it way more fun.
Yeah, way more fun.
New episodes every Tuesday.
Real opinions, real conversations.
Zero gatekeeping.
Check out the world's greatest comic book podcast at thecomicbookpodcast.com.
Hey kids, comics!
I mean, think about it. You're sitting there at Microsoft Corporate HQ up in Redmond, Washington. And the first thing you hear is, oh, shitter broke. Oh, that doesn't sound very good. And Outlook crashed again. And you're like, fuck. It's Outlook. Should have used Hotmail.
Jesus. Outlook crashes on me all the fucking time. So yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
I look, I mean, not for nothing. And I'm not, this isn't a flex or anything, but I use Thunderbird. And
Thunderbirds are go.
Yeah, Thunderbird, great email client.
Mhm.
And it's free. You don't have to tie into Microsoft's fucking $8 a month to use fucking Outlook.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I use Thunderbird. It's pretty
I mean,
good.
I have Office. I actually pay for a license for Office for my main computer, but my company gives me Office, and that's what we use. But in the end, it's like I'm happy just with Google across the board. Google Docs, Google Sheets. I'm totally happy with it.
Yeah, I use them a lot.
Mhm.
I was using Dabble Writer for a little while,
Mhm.
actually more than a year. But on that one, you can write a book, but nothing else.
Nothing else.
And right now I'm working on a screenplay, a teleplay, and a couple of other scripts that made me change. So I changed to it's called Ellipsis, which I thought
Heard
was
of Ellipsis. Yeah.
Yeah, my kid, Matthias, turned me on to this one. He uses a couple of different ones. I use that one, and I use this one over here called Superscript. And that one's pretty awesome, too. But otherwise, yeah, I'd say I'm 50-50 with Google Docs and Word. Because I'm already stuck with Word, and I get it through school, so I might as well use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
I do anything work related through Word, and then everything else goes through Google Docs.
Yeah.
Now.
So let me go ahead and do a deep dive right now. It's time for the Left Show's Deep Dives. Every week, your intrepid hosts take a detailed look at important topics from across the globe that matter to you, whether you know it or not. Let's see how this goes. Best of luck, folks. What I want to talk about is Gen Z and the system that we currently operate under. Gen Z is the most politically aware, socially progressive generation in modern history. And yet, in a lot of ways, they're just playing a game that has basically been rigged against them. It's designed for them to never be able to win. And that starts with the structure. And the United States political system is built on institutions that move slowly, sometimes painfully slowly. The Senate gives equal power to states regardless of population, which I think is wrong. The Electoral College can override the popular vote, which I think is wrong. District maps are often drawn in ways that dilute younger, more diverse voices. And then there's voter turnout. Older generations vote at a significantly higher rate, which means that politicians cater to older voters. So even as Gen Z becomes a larger share of the population, their actual influence is throttled. And that disconnect creates severe frustration because when you look at the issues that Gen Z cares about, climate change, student debt, housing affordability, healthcare, LGBTQ rights, they're not fringe positions. In many cases, they're supported by a majority of Americans, but they still struggle to translate into policy at the same pace. Now you layer in economic factors. And Gen Z is entering adulthood during a time of rising costs, stagnant wages, massive student debt. Home ownership is out of reach. Rent is fucking crushing. And their traditional promise, the American way, the work hard and get ahead, isn't reliable anymore. So when the system doesn't deliver materially, trust just erodes. So on social issues, especially LGBTQ rights, Gen Z is dramatically more progressive than the generations before them. For them, inclusion isn't controversial. It's the baseline. Identity is more fluid. Acceptance is more normalized. And there's far less patience for policies or rhetoric that feel exclusionary. And the shift isn't small. It's actually cultural. And what's happening faster than the political system is the change is happening faster than the political system can keep up. So you end up with tension, a generation that's more open, more connected, more engaged than ever, operating inside a system that rewards patience, seniority, and incremental change. And that is a huge mismatch because Gen Z isn't disengaged. They're often deeply engaged. They organize online, they mobilize quickly, they bring attention to issues that might otherwise be ignored, but the pathways from awareness to actual policy are still controlled by old people. And that raises a bigger question. What happens when a generation that overwhelmingly supports change runs into a system built to resist it? Because eventually, one of these things has to give. And whether that leads to reform, realignment, or even deeper frustration, that's not just Gen Z's story, that's the future of the system itself. It basically boils down to they are becoming the largest voting bloc.
Yes.
And they are not being messaged to, frankly, by Democrats. David Hogg getting let go from his elected position at the DNC is huge because he popped up and he's like, we want to primary anybody that has hateful, bigoted or dipshit views. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're not going to do that. You're out.
Yeah,
so he's doing it anyway.
I would like to do that too.
Yeah. I mean, we're Gen X.
Yes.
And we've had to do a lot of growth. We've had to relearn a lot of cultural norms. But half of us do it. Half of us vote for Trump. I don't understand those guys. How can anybody that came up in an age with Black Flag and the dead Kennedys, that support fucking Republicans right now, how can anybody that listened to fucking Twisted Sister, Poison, Rat, Motley Crue, how can any generation that had those guys have any problem with trans people? Do you know what I mean?
They're dipshits. They're
dipshits.
Really it. We grew up with them. We know who the fuck they are. I could point to people that I grew up with and went, yeah, he's probably voted for Trump. Yeah, she's probably voted for Trump. Because it wouldn't even surprise me if they did. It would probably surprise me if they said, no, I voted for Harris or I voted for Clinton before. We raised Gen Z. We're the parents of Gen Z, which is why it doesn't surprise me, because unlike the previous generation, they're not like siloed off into these little factions that can't decide what's important. Can't get a majority to decide what's important to them. Gen Z is very strong with that. What does surprise me is the number of them being inclusive, only because of the major influence of the manosphere over the last 10 years. I think that would get a lot more dudes not wanting inclusion. But maybe those dudes were still millennials. I don't know.
All I know is that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
They're huge.
Yes.
They're the next big voting bloc, and the only people talking to them are Republicans.
And that's a problem.
Because Democratic money is still running at old people.
Mm-hmm.
It's very frustrating. But that's my deep dive. Let's do some more news. Pete Hegseth. I'm sorry, Pete Hegseth.
Keg's Breath.
Keg's Breath is good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like that more.
That's from Taylor. Keg's Breath.
Has started firing generals, including General Randy George, who was, I guess, the Army's chief of staff, and told him to immediately retire last week because he was against a ground war in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
And so were apparently all the other generals that got fired.
Yes.
It's disturbing. It's creepifying. It's alarming.
George also presented him with was it 3 or 4 candidates that were up for 3-star general, and Keg's Breath rejected him because 2 were women and 2 were black, and he didn't think they would be qualified to be 3-star generals.
Yeah, because he's a racist little piece of shit.
Yeah, and what we're seeing is a slow. If we don't get that fucker out of there soon, Congress, we're going to see a slow change in the military to where they are loyal only to him, and then therefore loyal only to Trump. And we will have a very different military than the one we had in 2020. We could have a military that could take over, and we don't want that. But that's the direction we're going if you don't put a stop to this guy and stop not taking him seriously, because he's a problem in this country. He's a major problem.
Yep. So Pete Hegseth going to fire fat chicks to victory. Basically, Pete Hegseth and his buddy Ricky Berea told folks last year that Ricky and Pete went out drinking wearing disguises. It's a little piece of gossip that's widely believed to be a lie and recklessly planted to sniff out leakers.
Mm-hmm.
The topic emerged during an April flight when Berea revealed nearly 3 bottles of Macallan whiskey had been consumed on the trip without saying by whom. Quote, he made a mention that when Hegseth was staying at the Ritz before his D.C. house was ready, but then also once in Tennessee at a, quote, hat and sunglasses, or something to that effect, basically is all you need to be able is to sneak out, and that it was kind of amazing that nobody recognized them. The source claimed Berea added, hey, look, I'm just there to make sure he's protected and doesn't get into any sort of trouble and people don't recognize him. But yeah, we have to sneak out. Then when confronted, Berea went with the, just joking, bro, before settling on the, just testing you, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But, yeah, a Pentagon officer whose job entails monitoring military ethics, saying, we We have always strived to be principled, not vicious. He's making us seem like monsters. Another quote, it rattled me to the core. I think it's true for a lot of folks in the building. Nobody, even Defense Department personnel, wants a leader licking his lips about a major regional conflict. And my last favorite quote, imagine being a parent, hearing him sounding like we take war lightly. Are you going to let your 18-year-old enlist? No. No, we've got fighter jets getting shot down. At least they got that dude back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got, I think 13 fatalities so far and more to come. We've got billions of dollars in destroyed equipment. America bombed a girls' school.
We're an aggressor. That's the big thing. We are an aggressor once again. In the last century, in the previous century, we were never the aggressor. At least not openly. I mean,
Vietnam.
We did start Vietnam, but we didn't learn that until the 90s. But yeah, it was basically we were the aggressor. We were always coming in to help, or we were supposedly acting out of defense. Ever since we invaded Iraq, and now we're doing it to Iran, it's like we're just being an aggressor, and it's like that's not the country I want to live in.
So we learned last week that Hegseth had blocked promotions of 2 black men and 2 women, and he and Army Secretary Daniel P. Driscoll, who is also somehow simultaneously the acting director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, argued about it. We know that one of the officers, a black armor officer, was axed because he had written a paper 15 years ago that analyzed why African-American officers historically have opted for support jobs over frontline combat positions. Another officer, female logistics officer, was reportedly cut because, quote, she served in Afghanistan during the bloody 2021 withdrawal, and even those she served with said she still did her job very well despite the chaos. You know, we found out that Hegseth actually blocked or delayed promotions of more than a dozen senior officers for similar bullshit reasons across all 4 branches of the military, some of whom are seen as having been targeted because of their race, gender, or perceived affiliation with the Biden administration policies or officials, according to 9 U.S. officials familiar with the process. 9. This is the 1.3 million people in the United States military are relatively diverse, with about 1/3 non-white, and women are about 20% of officers in every branch except the Marines. These are people that want to serve. These are people that have stood up, signed their name on the line, and have gone off to do who the hell knows what.
Yeah.
But they can't get promoted because there's a racist, alcoholic, sexual abuser as the head of the department. Oh, I have had enough with this fucking pop filter. I'll just stay a little back off the mic. If you guys get some plosives, I apologize. The pop filter's being a bitch. Okay. President Trump and his administration will move the United States Forest Service headquarters out of the nation's capital to Salt Lake City as part of an organizational overhaul that involves shuttering research facilities in 31 states and concentrating resources in the West. You know, where dipshits like Mike Lee want to strip mine all the pretty parts to make money for the dipshits.
Yep. That's exactly what he wants.
Yeah, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said the move, which is expected to be completed by summer of next year, will bring leaders closer to the landscapes they manage and the people who depend on them. I don't really have a problem with this one.
No.
Other than it feels like an out of sight, out of mind thing.
Mm-hmm.
And how many immigrants can they fit in the old office building that they're kicking these guys out of?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I can't figure out any other reason to shut down the national headquarters of the goddamn Forest Service.
Without a Forest Service representative in Washington, D.C., they can get pushed aside by the Secretary of Agriculture easily. But on the other, I do agree. I don't see a problem with it. I mean, one, we already have a strong Forest Service thing here in Utah. We've always had a strong Federal Forest Service department here.
Yeah.
So moving it out here makes total sense to me. Just because it already was probably one of the main hubs, but there's a lot more going on that, we're going to be the Forest Service is going to be dealing with a lot of forest fires this year. I guarantee it, because we've already had 80-degree days in a lot of different states in March, and any day that the temperature is above 80 degrees Fahrenheit is a day that we basically are guaranteed a wildfire. Not on that day, but over the summer. It's like the more 80-degree days we have early, the more wildfires we get in the summer.
Yeah. So with the move to Utah, about 260 Forest Service positions currently located in D.C. are expected to relocate, and 130 workers will stay put. Mm-hmm. Deputy Agricultural Secretary Stephen Vaden said Salt Lake City stuck out for its reasonable cost of living. Bullshit. I mean, yeah, compared to D.C., but still.
Yeah.
For what people pay around here, it's an expensive-ass place to live.
Yes.
So they're saying that we should be happy about this because it's a Democratic-led capital city in a red state with values rooted in the locally headquartered Mormon church, known widely, as the Mormons.
They're only 40% of the population, according to the last census. So
yeah, fuck them.
We are an environmentally conscious state, even though we fucked up the whole outdoor retailers thing a few years ago. Where we've always been an ecological state. We know we want to protect our pretty areas, and we want to be able to use them. There are some dipshits who think that means I want to be able to use them with my very damaging four-wheeler, digging around in that on my four-wheeler. But for the most part, we all take care of the land here very well.
Yeah.
I've seen some shittier national parks around the country compared to what we have here. So we're doing well. And it would be nice to have the secretary or the assistant secretary here monitoring things like what's happening with Bryce Canyon and that, because we are going to see some problems going forward with Bryce Canyon and some of these other places because of the water loss we're having.
Huffington Post Jennifer Bendery reported that Whiskey Pete Hegseth's Pentagon invited 3,500 employees to attend a Good Friday service at its in-house chapel. But the email invitation offered a friendly reminder that there would only be a Protestant service and not an actual Good Friday Mass.
Oh.
Isn't Good Friday Catholic?
Pretty much entirely Catholic. I mean, yeah, some of the early Protestant, the faiths that are part of the early Protestant movement, they still do see Good Friday as an important day. That's why it's on your calendar. Easter's still important to them. I mean, out here, with the 40% that are Mormon, growing up in it, I never heard about Good Friday, really. Yep. I always wondered what it was on the calendar, and nobody would explain it to me. So.
But regardless, on this Easter weekend, Archbishop Timothy Broglio reminded us that Jesus preached a message of peace, saying, quote, "It's hard to cast this war, as something that would be sponsored by the Lord," end quote. All right, that's it for this block. We'll be back on the other side with more news.
Snakes, zombies, sharks, heights, speaking in public. The list of fears is endless. But while you're clutching your blanket in the dark, wondering if that sound in the hall was actually a footstep, the real danger is in your hand, when you're behind the wheel. And while you might think a great white shark is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
In a world where MAGA is banning and burning books, it is a revolutionary act to read. It's Monday in America is a bold collection from the Left Show's J.M. Bell about politics, family, aging, and the uncomfortable truths we keep avoiding. No talking points, just real life in a divided country. Order your copy of It's Monday in America today for just $14.99 at mondayinamerica.com. If you're looking to feel hopeful or inspired, or if you're just frustrated and unsure about where we're headed, this book provides a unique look at the life of a Gen X liberal, the challenges and victories, and the question, what kind of world have we built for our children? It's Monday in America. $14.99 at mondayinamerica.com. It's Monday in America. Better to die on your feet than live on your knees.
For some reason, you are still listening to The Left Show. All right, then, here's some more of that, I suppose.
So this week I had spring break from school.
Okay.
It doesn't feel as festive as it did the last two times I was in college. Probably, due to where I am, what's going on, the fact that I'm actually, a remote student. I'm poor as shit. My wife is quite critically ill.
Well, yeah,
but
one of the points of spring break for students was you got time off campus.
Yeah.
Time out of classrooms.
So what I did with my week was start building the processes to get us better online. So the TikTok came out. I did an experiment on Instagram that worked out better than I thought it would. So you guys are going to be able to access more and more content as we go. I needed 3 days with big ass blocks of time. And it's easy to go from my office to the bedside because they are 12 feet apart. So not having school this week actually quite beneficial in getting some things moved forward and put together in such a way that they won't eat so much time that school suffers. But spring break. Saw an interview with some kids out in Florida on their big spring break, and boy, were those kids dumb. My favorite one was, what do you feel, about the Ayatollah being killed? And every single person that they showed in that piece of film was like, who the fuck is the Ayatollah? Or who the fuck is Ayatollah? Not the Ayatollah, Ayatollah.
Who's Ayatollah? Is he a DJ? What?
That's pretty good. I like that. That made me happy. So yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I did deep dive with Gen Z is how important it is to involve the youth of today in their future, because right now they are not feeling it. This is the unaliving generation. These are the ones that are like, boy, it'd just be easier to not be here.
Mm-hmm.
We built that.
Yep.
We built that. They took Gen X's basically scorn for the system and our disbelief in authority, and they turned it into a full loss scenario, and they were pushed there.
Yep.
There
were those there were those who said we're not gonna do this. We're gonna change the world, and like Greta Thunberg and that, and then you've got the ones, but the majority of Gen Z are like, fuck it. Yeah.
Yep. So Donald Trump is angry. He can't find anybody that wants to help him and Secretary of War Peter Shitface bomb the fuck out of Iran. Even though
That's
Peter
not what NATO does.
Exactly. is now telling stories.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're a lie.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah. About troops begging him for bigger bombs. Nobody except Benjamin Netanyahu, and that's the genocidal bastard who ordered Trump to do this in the first place, is asking for bigger bombs.
Yep.
The Israeli Defense Force is dropping magnesium, white phosphorus on people.
War crime.
That's a war crime. Geneva Convention spelled out quite clearly, we do not drop shit that can't be put out with a fucking hose on people anymore. And you know that when you get Willie Pete's wet, they just get worse.
Mm-hmm. Just gets hotter.
Yep. So Spain has announced that it's closing airspace to U.S. military planes bombing little kids in Iran. This comes after an earlier announcement that the U.S. couldn't use the Moran and Rota air bases in southern Spain as a staging ground for Hegseth to work out his masculinity issues. The White House, of course, got all pouty and was like, we don't need Spain. But they can't use Sicily either, which is closer to Iran geographically. Last week, the Italian government reported that there was no more room at the inn on its base in Sicily for U.S. warplanes itching to explode Iranian school children and wouldn't let them land there. The reason? Well, they hadn't asked. They're supposed to ask before they land their planes all over Sicilian air bases.
Yeah.
And Italian Prime Minister
Trump.
Yeah, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni actually loves Trump. So you got to understand that he's going to be a little pissy about that.
Mm-hmm.
The latest one was actually reported by Trump himself, saying the country of France won't let planes headed to Israel loaded up with military supplies fly over French territory. France has been very unhelpful with respects to, quote, the butcher of Iran, who has been successfully eliminated. The USA will remember, exclamation point, ×3, President DJT. Fuck that guy.
Yep.
And basically the world, especially NATO, is like, the NATO charter is if somebody invades one of us, we all come to help. Not if one of us invades somebody else, starts blowing up somebody else. And then when you think about it, and they're talking about how NATO is supposed to do this, NATO made a promise to the Ukraine at the fall of the Soviet Union that if they got rid of all of their nukes, which was all of their bargaining power in that region, if they got rid of all of their nukes, NATO would have their back.
Yeah.
And NATO has not had their back. And I lay that. The first part of that, totally owned by Obama.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Second part of that, owned by every other fucking NATO country, led by the United States of America, until Biden took over. And then Biden's like, let's build a coalition. We don't need all this malarkey. So he builds a coalition. People start taking care. We start sending money. We start sending weapons, this and that and the other. And then micromanaged their defense.
Yeah.
Which I think was a mistake. We're like, well, you can have this bomb, but you can't have that bomb because that bomb might actually go to Russia. You know, the people who invaded you. And you're only allowed to blow up people that are in your country, not the people that are invading your country, which I always thought was kind of a dick fucking move for us to make. I understand it geopolitically.
Yeah.
I understand it very well. I also think it was wrong. I think we should have, what was it? Hegseth was complaining that we were out of Tomahawk missiles because Biden sent so many of them to Ukraine, but we didn't send any Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine because they go too far and they would blow up important stuff that Russia needs for their war machine.
Yep.
You know, I throw the handcuffs put on Zelensky onto Biden before it's continuing the arrest metaphor, you know, before the cops dumped Ukraine out in the middle of the goddamn bogs. That's a you might recall in The Godfather when they murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. So basically, Trump and Lindsey Graham are having temper tantrums about all the countries that won't help them out because they don't understand what the fuck NATO is and what it means. And I imagine that the NATO charter is probably a long document and none of them can read that long without falling asleep or ingesting crayons to help them read.
Well, it just kills Lindsay's war boner, and he has to have that war boner.
Yeah. So I don't know. Did you see the pictures of him at Disney World?
Yeah.
He wore a sport coat. He wore a blazer.
I know.
By himself to go to Disney World.
Because it was during their recess that Trump told them not to take.
Yeah.
They took it anyway.
Lindsey Graham running around dressed up in a goddamn business suit with a big sparkly princess wand.
Mm-hmm.
It's not telling. Who the fuck wears a fucking sport coat to Disney? Jesus, I want to wear as little as I can get away with, with the prejudices of our society pointing at somebody as fat as I am.
Yes.
So I'm wearing a t-shirt, I'm wearing shorts, and I'm wearing suburban dad shoes.
That's right.
That's if I can afford to go in the first place, which Lindsey Graham obviously can.
Apparently he was meeting with some dude down there, and they just decided, let's go over to Orlando. Well, we're in Orlando. Let's go to Disney World right now. So it was on a whim they went to Disney World, and it's like, what the so he can afford to go there on a whim.
On a whim.
Mm-hmm.
3 fired FBI agents are suing the FBI. They lodged their lawsuit last Tuesday, alleging that the Bureau and the Justice Department engaged in an illegal retribution campaign against them for their participation in an investigation into Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Their job.
Doing their job. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. The lawsuit, which seeks a class action certification and was filed in federal court in Washington, names FBI Director Kash Patel, Attorney General Pam Bondi, along with the FBI.
Former
and just
Attorney General.
We're getting there. You always do that. She's next. I have transitions planned. I think these things out.
Okay.
But yes, they fired her, and now you've ruined the next story. Anyway, the suit seeks for all similarly situated agents to be reinstated. These 3 were fired without notice last October and November, despite years of exemplary and unblemished service, according to court filings. The 3 had been involved in an investigation that had culminated in a 2023 indictment of Trump from special counsel Jack Smith. And that indictment alleged Trump had schemed to overturn the results of the 2020 election and also mishandled classified documents. The case was ultimately abandoned after Trump was reelected by people with no fucking cerebral cortex. I just assume. I mean, could it be?
I can't think of any other reason.
Yeah. It reminds me of that Star Trek Strange New Worlds episode where they were the holodeck episode.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming to take our brain waves. Oh boy. In case you hadn't heard, Trump fired Pam Bondi as Attorney General. He's been increasingly frustrated with her in recent days, sources told NBC News. They went to the Supreme Court together on the trying to end birthright citizenship, which it looked like only Thomas and Alito were for. Sounded like everybody else, we'll know later, but it sounded like everybody else was like, this is fucking dumb. Mm-hmm. It's written in the Constitution.
Literally in the Constitution. Your argument isn't holding water as to why it shouldn't be the case. Yeah.
Yeah, and it all seemed to fall apart when the government's lawyer, whose name I won't say because I don't want anybody to know it, they're like, well, what about Native Americans? He's like, I don't know, I got to think about it. It's like, dude, it's the Supreme Court. You're supposed to be ready. You're supposed to do your fucking homework. And we all know how much Trump hates Native Americans.
Yeah.
He does. I mean, he's on the congressional fucking record saying that Native Americans don't deserve casinos because they don't look Native American enough.
Trump doesn't like Native Americans because they started casinos and were far more successful than he ever was running a casino.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah.
And I'm sure when they started the casino, they're like, well, what if it fails? Well, don't run it like Trump.
Well, you don't let the mob in to take too much money.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, it's got to be something like that. There's no other way to lose that much money aside from embezzlement, which I wouldn't put it past him either, since they did that to a cancer charity at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to remember when you're online and you see people going, Trump could cure cancer, and the Democrats would be pissed. And it's like, no, he's just cut funding. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was a kids' cancer charity that they were running, and they stole all the money from it. And they're no longer allowed to run charities out of New York State anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah. Truth Social again. We love Pam, he said. She will be transitioning into a much needed and important new job in the private sector.
He didn't even give her the bullshit job that he gave Gnome. He's like, yeah, you're she's out completely. She just has to go do a job in the private sector.
I mean, that could be where he puts his binders full of women, is in that Shield of the Americas bullshit he came up with.
Yeah.
All these different ideas he has for just stealing fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
Very annoying. I love that, though. A fucking an important new job in the private sector.
Private sector.
We fired the fuck out of her, and now she's got to go and work at Subway.
She's got to find a law firm that will actually take her now.
What's her name? His chief of staff has got to be wondering when she's next.
And you wonder about Patel and Kegsbreath. I mean, especially Kegsbreath, the way this war has been going, and how Trump can't taco out of it, so he's just kind of stuck with it. It's like, how long until Kegsbreath gets his ass shit canned the same way?
I bet you $5 Tulsi Gabbard's the next one to go.
Really?
I think he's just going to keep replacing these women with white dudes.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Though, did you see who he's considering? Is that, I don't know if that's in this article.
I don't believe it is.
Yeah, the two that one of the two he was considering, one is Mike Lee, and I'm like, oh please. I mean, yeah, he would be a complete nightmare as the attorney general, but at least he'd be out of the Senate and no longer Utah's problem. Yes.
I don't know. I still think he'd make problems for Utah.
Oh, he would, but
yeah. Hershey, you might recall Hershey, the chocolate folks.
Yes.
I don't know. It's kind of like how a Taco Bell beef burrito has beef in it.
Yes.
Beef.
Beef. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't know, man. Yeah. Chocolate. Look, I'm going to old for just a minute.
Okay.
Chocolate tasted better when I was a kid.
Naturally.
Yeah. And I don't eat it near as much anymore, so it should just be a fantastic fucking thing when I do.
Mm-hmm.
But it all tastes like soap for the most part. You know, I do not care very much for dark chocolate. And I know that I'm in the minority there and that a lot of people love it. Mm-hmm. The only time I like dark chocolate is mixed with a good sea salt and caramel. And even then I wish it was milk chocolate because, you know, I have a very unrefined palate for sweets.
Mm.
But Hershey's says that it's going to shift back to its classic recipe for all Reese's products because people have been complaining, and it's been more than me. Hershey said on Wednesday it'll use classic recipes for all Reese's products starting next year, a change that comes after the grandson of Reese's founder criticized the company for shifting to cheaper ingredients. Good for you, grandson of Reese's founder. Reese's peanut butter cups have always been made with real milk chocolate or dark chocolate and peanut butter, but a small portion of Hershey's and Reese's products, like mini Easter eggs, are now made with a coating that contains less chocolate. It's soap.
Yep.
Hershey said that in 2027, it'll shift those products back to their classic milk chocolate and dark chocolate recipes. Hershey, Pennsylvania-based company said that it will be making other changes to its sweet portfolio next year, including transitioning to natural colors and enhancing Kit Kat's recipe to make it creamier. That's it right there. Look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, those of you who are fluid and all other pronouns, Kit Kats are what kind of took me off enjoying chocolate. It was a Kit Kat I'd bit into that I hadn't had a Kit Kat in ages, and I bit it, and I was like, "What? That tastes like surfboard wax." And if you want to know how I know what surfboard wax tastes like, Gen X kids for about 15 fucking minutes, I can't believe I'm about to say this, would buy surfboard wax and chew on it like gum. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
I remember that. Yeah.
Sex wax, it was called.
Sex wax. I never got into that, but I remember them doing it. And I'm like, that can't taste very good.
You know what? It did. It tasted better than a fucking Kit Kat. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah, we used to do that. We used to chew on surfboard wax, and it tasted like surfboard wax. You know, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't good. It was just a thing to chew on that for some reason we found gum gauche. I don't know. I prefer gum.
I mean, I get chewing the wax because you remember the wax lips and stuff they used to sell kids in the candy aisle.
Yeah, but that had candy in it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I would eat the candy and then I would also chew the lips because it was chewy. You know?
Yeah, part of the process.
Yeah.
That's what I think anyway. I don't
It didn't taste bad. It was fine. Yeah.
I don't know. You got a favorite candy bar?
Lion bars.
You got a favorite domestic candy bar?
Yeah, Snickers. That's my favorite candy bar. Yeah.
When your hunger's poking at you.
That's right.
Still the best thing Ellen DeGeneres has ever done. Okay. We're at the end, gang. We're going to pop over and do a Patreon real quick. Actually, it's not quick. It's actually quite long. Why don't you join us? Yeah. Patreon.com/defenmedia, DEFEN media. Every week that we record, we pop over to Patreon and put some special content up there for our Patreon listeners. We have an insane influx of new listeners on Patreon that have chosen the free platform. And I'm happy to have you guys there. I really am. Most everything we do is behind the paywall. But if you want to try it out, I have been throwing up some older content. Lately, it's a couple of mansplaining episodes that we did back in 2017, 2018. By the way, it's been 2018 since the last time I did a mansplaining on the show.
Well, that needs to change.
I know. I'm working on it. It's nuts. It's all this stuff that's like
that's 8 years of not having a mansplaining. We need mansplaining back. The manosphere is taking over.
Yeah,
gotta bring
it's
it
been
back.
2020 since we've done a fat camp.
Yeah,
Yeah, I miss fat camp.
I'm still
Fat
fat,
camp.
so yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work. Don't get me wrong. But when you
Maybe
build
fatter.
a diet program with a sabotage feature,
Mhm.
it's not supposed to work. And that's important. All right. Patreon.com/defenmedia. Join us over there. In the meantime, I'll thank JC for being on with me today.
You're welcome, America.
And we'll wish Tiffany, any kind of recovery. I'll take it. Fast, slow, as long as we know it's coming.
Yes.
Sound good?
Sounds great.
If you've made it this far, you might as well join us on Patreon. Patreon.com/defenmedia. This episode and more always available at www.theleftshow.com.